Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're going deep into some cutting-edge AI research,
Oh, yeah.
straight from Google DeepMind. They've put together this benchmark called LMAct,
Okay.
which is basically it's a way to test how well AI can learn just by watching expert demonstrations.
Interesting.
So think of it like, if you're showing someone how to bake a cake
Uh,
before you let them loose in the kitchen, but instead of cakes, we're talking about AI mastering games, solving puzzles, maybe even like controlling robots,
wow.
all just by observing.
Yeah, that's a really clever approach. And what I think is really fascinating about this is how
Yeah.
how big this benchmark is. Like they didn't just limit it to just one type of task.
Right.
It's like throwing all these challenges at these AI models from, like you said, playing these classic arcade games
Yeah.
to even navigating these like really complex virtual environments.
So it's not just about like, can AI beat us at chess anymore?
No, not at all.
They're really kind of pushing the limits here.
They really are.
So what kind of tasks
Yeah.
are we actually talking about here?
Well, you can imagine like an AI trying to like learn how to play a game like Atari's Phoenix
Okay. Oh.
just by watching someone who's really good at it.
Mm-hmm.
Or like picture it trying to solve crossword puzzles,
Oh, wow.
deciphering like words and meanings just like we do.
Yeah.
They even have the AI controlling a simulated cheetah,
Oh, wow.
which tests like its ability to handle these like really fine movements
Yeah.
and like adapt to this like constantly changing environment.
It's like an AI Olympics or something.
It really is.
But why are they going through all this trouble? Like, what's the point
it's-
of testing AI in this way?
So even the AIs that are really powerful, like the ones that are trained on mountains and mountains of data,
Right.
they struggle with
Yeah.
tasks that we think are like pretty simple as humans.
Yeah, yeah.
Like they might have all the knowledge,
Uh-huh.
but they don't really have that like practical know-how,
Right.
the ability to actually use that information.
It's like having a cookbook filled with amazing recipes,
Yeah.
but you don't actually know how to use the oven.
It
So you've got all the ingredients, but you can't quite put it all together.
That's a great analogy, yeah.
So that's the gap that this research is trying to kind of
That's exactly right.
bridge.
Like, can we teach AI to not only learn the information, but to also learn how to use that information
Yeah.
in like, a really effective way?
So how does this LMAct benchmark actually work?
Oh,
Do they just show the AI like a ton of videos
Yeah.
and hope for the best?
not quite.
Okay.
So they use this very specific system
Oh.
of what they call prompts,
Okay.
which are like, you can think of them as detailed instructions.
So it's like giving the AI like
Sure.
guidelines, like a framework to understand what they're supposed to learn.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so the prompt includes this general preamble,
Uh-huh.
which kind of sets this expectation
Right?
that the AI is a really powerful learner, capable of, absorbing this new information and applying it.
Right.
And then they give it a bunch of these expert demonstrations,
Okay.
which show the AI exactly how to do the task.
So it's not just random examples.
Right.
It's like a very structured,
It's like a walkthrough,
yeah,
like step by step.
yeah,
Yeah.
deliberate learning experience.
Yes, very deliberate.
Okay. And then just to make sure the AI knows when it's time to like
Yes.
show off its skills.
They have this thing called a separator prompt,
Okay.
which is kind of like a signal that says, okay, now you go.
Now it's your turn.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the actual contestants in this AI showdown.
Okay.
Who are the big players here?
So they've got a really great lineup. They've got Claude 3.5 Sonnet,
Uh-huh.
both Gemini 1.5 Flash and Gemini 1.5 Pro,
Okay.
the ever-popular GPT-4o,
Right.
and then these kind of lesser-known but really powerful O1 Mini and O1 Preview.
So it's like a clash of the AI titans.
It really is.
But what's interesting here is like all these AI models
Yeah.
don't all process information the same way.
Exactly. So one of the key things is the model's ability to like handle context.
Okay.
So like the Gemini series has what's called a long context window.
Oh, okay.
So it can process a lot of information at once.
So it's like having a bigger working memory.
Exactly.
Okay.
But other models are kind of limited in how much information they can look at
Right.
the same time.
Yeah.
So that difference in context window size
Yeah.
plays a huge role in how well they can learn from these demonstrations?
I wonder if there's like an ideal amount of information
That's a great question.
to feed these AI models. Like, is there too little
Yeah.
where they might not get the full picture or
Yeah.
too much where it's just like information overload?
Right. Yeah. And that's, something that they look at really closely in this research.
Okay.
And they experimented with like different ways of presenting information
Right.
to the AI models. Not only how much information they're giving them, but also like the format of it.
So how you package it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like, for example, they looked at whether AI models learn better
Yeah.
from like text descriptions, like if you're thinking about chess, like written out chess moves versus like raw images.
Okay.
Like if you're thinking about Atari, an image of the game screen.
It's like figuring out the best learning style for an AI.
It really is.
Okay.
Some are visual learners, some might do better with text.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And they also looked at this thing called chain of thought prompting.
Yeah. So that's where you encourage the AI to think out loud.
Okay.
By explaining its reasoning process.
So you're like peeking inside the AI's brain.
You really are.
To see how it's connecting the dots.
Yeah, to get like why it's doing what it's doing.
Right. Okay. So we've got this diverse set of AI models.
Yeah.
They're testing them on all these challenging tasks.
Yeah.
And they're trying all these different ways to like present the information.
Right.
So what were the results like?
Yeah. Did any of these AIs come out on top?
So this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
The results were kind of all over the place.
Okay.
There wasn't one AI model that like just dominated at everything.
Okay.
Some did well in certain areas and then struggled in others.
So there's no one-size-fits-all solution?
No, there's not.
When it comes to AI?
No.
Okay.
It shows you like how complex AI learning is.
Yeah.
And how we need to like really look at how these models work.
Yeah, I'm definitely hooked.
Right.
I can't wait to hear more about the results.
Great. Hashtag TTS, the deep dive episode 2024-1206, part 2 of 3.
Okay, so let's dig into some of those results. I'm especially curious about like the chess challenge.
Right.
Did any of these AI models like actually outsmart the chess grandmasters?
So none of them consistently beat Stockfish.
Okay.
Which is like one of the most powerful chess engines.
Right.
But there were some interesting like insights.
Okay, like what kind of insights? So they played around with like representing the chessboard in different ways.
Okay.
So they had plain text. They have these like chess notations.
Okay.
Even images.
Wow.
And they found that some of the AIs, particularly like GPT-4o, did better when they were given like a history of the moves.
Okay.
Like the actual sequence of how the game had been played.
So it's not just about like what the pieces are doing, but
it's like the flow of the game.
Yeah.
Like the story of how it got there.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, that raises the question, like, could that apply to other areas of AI?
Yeah.
What if we start showing AI information in this, like, more sequential way?
Like a more story-like way?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
So what about the crossword puzzles?
Oh, yeah. I heard one of the AIs really crushed it.
They did. 01 preview.
Okay.
Got almost perfect scores.
Really?
At the crossword puzzles.
So is AI going to replace all the crossword puzzle enthusiasts now? Maybe not replace them, but maybe help them.
Okay.
It shows that AI is getting better at these tasks that require, like, language logic, a bit of creativity.
Okay. So we've talked about chess and crosswords.
Yeah.
Any surprises in the other challenges?
So, what was interesting is that most of the AIs actually found the grid world navigation pretty easy.
Okay.
So, finding the shortest path to a target.
Right.
So they're good at, like, that spatial reasoning.
Well, that makes sense. AI is being used in self-driving cars.
Right, exactly.
All this navigation stuff.
They're good at that.
Okay.
But controlling that cheetah.
Right.
That was hard.
That was probably a lot harder.
Really hard.
Than navigating a virtual map.
Right. Like, even the ones that did well were not even close to an expert.
Okay. What about tic-tac-toe?
Oh, yeah, tic-tac-toe.
That seems pretty simple.
Right? You would think so, but a lot of them struggled to beat a random opponent.
They couldn't even beat a random opponent.
It seemed like that randomness really threw them off.
Uh-huh.
Like maybe they were overfitting to those expert demonstrations.
Right, so it's like they memorized the answers to last year's test.
Exactly.
But all the questions are different this year.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
So that shows the need for AI models.
Yeah.
To really be able to generalize what they learn.
Right.
And adapt to these like new situations.
Okay.
But there was a little bit of hope with the tic-tac-toe.
Okay.
Because O1 Mini and O1 Preview,
Yeah.
they actually showed, like, improvement
Oh, okay.
the more examples they got.
Okay.
So they eventually got to that expert
Oh,
level,
wait.
even against a random opponent.
So maybe there's hope.
Maybe. Maybe they can adapt to that unpredictability. Now, before we move on, I want to mention
Yeah.
that idea we talked about before,
Okay.
where more information isn't always better.
Right.
So they actually found that
Yeah.
giving the AIs more demonstrations
Okay.
sometimes made them worse.
Really? Why is that?
So it's this thing called in-context interference.
Okay.
It's like if you were trying to learn a new dance move
Uh-huh.
and you watched 100 people do it at once.
Yeah, that would be confusing.
Right, like you'd be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a limit to how much information.
Or they can actually learn from.
It's like information overload.
Exactly. It's like information overload for AI.
So it's not just about like force-feeding them data.
Sure.
It's about finding like the right balance.
Right. The right amount.
Okay.
And that's closely tied to this idea of token limitations.
Right. Okay. Can you remind me what a token is again?
Sure. So a token is like the unit of information
Okay.
that the AI processes. It's like the building blocks of language.
Okay.
So every word, number, symbol, even pixels in an image
Okay.
can be represented as a token.
So it's how the AI breaks down all this information.
Yeah. And each model has like a limit
Okay.
to how many tokens they can handle at once.
So if you overload it, yeah, it's like
stuffing too much in a suitcase.
exactly.
Gotcha.
So just scaling them up
Yeah.
and giving them more data
Right.
might not be the answer.
So what is the answer?
Yeah, what is the answer? That's a good question.
If just giving AI more data
Yeah,
and bigger context windows
Right.
isn't the solution, then what is?
that's what we'll talk about in the final part.
All right, let's get to it. Hashtag TTS, the deep dive episode 2024-1206, part 3 of 3. All right, so we've learned some pretty interesting stuff about how AI learns.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not as straightforward as we might have thought. You know, just giving them more data, bigger context windows doesn't always do the trick.
Exactly. It's about being more, strategic
Yeah.
with how we present information to AI.
It's like we need to develop a whole new curriculum for AI.
Yeah, like tailored to the way it actually learns best.
Maybe we need to rethink like how we even approach AI training.
Yeah, for sure.
Instead of just showing it what to do, maybe we need to incorporate other learning strategies.
Right, like feedback,
Right.
reinforcement.
So instead of just like, here's what you do, it's also like, here's why you should do it this way.
Exactly. Like helping AI understand
Yeah.
the consequences of its actions.
Right. And this brings up another interesting point
Yeah.
about how AI actually
Yeah.
represents information internally.
Right, because the way we give them data right now
Right.
might not be the best way.
Do you think those token limitations
Oh, yeah.
could be holding AI back?
For sure. It's definitely something to think about.
Yeah.
We might need to find like more compressed ways to
Yeah.
represent all that information.
Like a whole new language just for AI.
Yeah, that's a really cool idea.
Yeah.
Something that people are working on.
Wow. This is really making me think differently about AI and how it learns.
It's definitely more complicated than we thought.
So will we ever get to a point
Where AI can master complex tasks
Yeah.
just by watching us.
That's the million-dollar question. I don't know if this study gives us all the answers,
Right.
but it definitely gives us some good clues
Yeah.
and opens up new possibilities.
It seems like the future of AI isn't just about building bigger models,
No.
but also like smarter ways to teach them.
It's about teaching,
Yeah.
not just giving them tons of data.
Right. Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I want to leave you with this thought.
Okay.
Imagine if we could unlock the secrets of how AI learns best.
Yeah.
The possibilities are endless.
Right.
AI could learn to do anything.
Yeah.
Compose music, design new medicines.
Wow.
Just by watching experts.
That's incredible.
And it all comes down to understanding how AI learns.
Right. The relationship between knowing and doing.
Exactly.
Well, that's a perfect note to end on.
I agree.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive
Of course.
into the fascinating world of AI. It's been fun.
We'll see you next time.
See ya.